Greetings and salutations, race fans, motorsport lovers, and others, and welcome to Wednesday and Raceday.tv and our coverage and look behind the scenes of Insights. I'm Colin, he's Fani, he's going to help with he's your proxy for questions and answers, and we're joined by a tall guy. You can see he's almost taller than I am because he's sitting on 7 cushions. Evan Hutchinson, thank you very much for taking time out and of your gardening. Evan's been in the garden the whole day, destroying his garden, trying to make a fish pond. We are going to have a look at some of the action today. A very, very strange day. There were flying cars, broken bodies, with respect, an extended lead, a whole lot of frustrations, broken windscreens, and drama deluxe. And on top of that, the crews go camping. Evan, it was a weird day. Stage, in summary, by now you know, the stage got stopped at a time of day. The bikes had done about 350 Ks and 345 Ks, and the cars were stopped at kilometer 223 because there were no helicopters. Why?
Too many accidents. I think it was
crashes.
Crashes.
Yeah.
They are crashing into the ground.
Hard.
Yeah, hard. I think it was a combination of events. First of all, the weather was horrendous, freezing cold and
lots of wind,
high winds
in the sand,
on the tops of the dunes. And what happens with that wind is you're reading these dunes the whole time. These guys are reading the dunes for sharper and less sharp dunes to depend the speed.
I'm going to interrupt you because what are you reading? What are you looking for? So you're driving down a dune. What are you looking for? What are the things?
I'm no Dune Pro, but you're reading it. So what's happening? Doesn't really matter. What's happening now when you look at the top of the dune, you cannot. First of all, the sharp edges get blown off, and they determine how sharp a dune is, as well as the fact is the wind's blowing the sand off the top, so there's no clear line. So you don't know.
It's like dust over there.
Sort of looks roundish, so it's difficult to determine exactly where the lip is and how severe it is. So what happens is the guys aren't seeing the edge of a dune, and you'll see some pictures of guys that went.
We've got one picture of a flying
terrifying.
bucky.
Absolutely
and
terrifying.
This was about a kilometer into the stage, and it is the same place, and we'll talk about that where Fernando Alonso rolled. So he goes off, straight off the edge.
Straight off.
And there's a massive drop. The thing, and the video we didn't get to be able to play, and then the thing lands. And it flies and basically belly flops into the ground. Henk, have you got that pic? Where I mean, look at that thing. It's now dropping. So yes, it's going forward at 100 and plenty, but it's falling with the
probably
force
20,
of gravity.
30 meters. I'll try to 30 meters.
So that particular vehicle landed absolutely flat, went another 10 meters, and your update was that the guys broke.
Both of them have crushed vertebra in their backs. So they landed, I think they...
That's the typical cross-country racer's injury.
Well, that landing, those wheels take up the first 200 miles, but coming from that height, it's almost irrelevant. And then the entire body lands hard on that sand, and then you get that incredible compression fracture. So they landed, I think they wanted to move out of the way, and that split second they pulled off, but they just pulled to the side, and that was the end of it for them.
And that was I think the last incident where they needed to casevac them out of the stage, and they'd by then run out of helicopters because there were bikers down, there were other cars that had rolled, and so they ended up not having enough helicopters. And if you can't guarantee safety of somebody, you've got to stop.
Well, it's a rule. As soon as they run out of helicopters, the race will stop, regardless of conditions, etc. You've seen before in the Dakar, if the choppers can't take off in the morning because of fog or whatever. Delayed. So if the choppers aren't working, there's no racing. So that's what it got to a point. It was just mayhem out there. There'd just been too many accidents. The weather was bad, and they had to just pull out. And they'd done enough kilometers, I think, to satisfy themselves that they've done it.
They'd just come out of the Dooney section, and we'll talk about the results of it just now. And it's not just choppers that need to fly, because they're basically air ambulances. You've got helicopters with doctors and nurses and stretchers and all the equipment to work hard on people. And I think that they were very, very nervous as well after incidents earlier in the week. Just a little bit of housekeeping. Fani is monitoring all the questions and answers and from places that you can do it. We're principally looking at the YouTube feed on raceday.tv, and he will actually mention the comments and get to them. We've got some from yesterday. There were a couple of comments, and let me just have a quick look at it. Somebody said, and we'll get to that now, from Rion van Arkel, what is the top speed of the Toyota? I'm told that before they did the modifications and taking the drag off the Toyota, where they reduced the air ducting and some of the stuff on the top of the roof, they basically reduced drag, and they got another 5 k's an hour. So it's somewhere between 180 and 185, depending on how hard the ground is. The softer the ground, the slower the speed, because there's more drag and it's got to go through it. Yeah. But on a reasonably hard-packed ground, it'll run to about 185. In contrast, the Mini runs to 200, and then another South African-built vehicle winner of the stage yesterday was the Century, and that runs to about 205. And there was that
7. They got 207.
207.
Which is
I said about, Evan. Come on.
Yeah, but it's important. They're fighting for those kilometers.
And it's
what Glenn found by taking his vent off is the difference you're talking about.
Yeah.
So he went to all that.
You're right.
But yeah, and you had the figures the other day. It's dramatic. I mean, the 5 k's an hour. We don't complain about it in South African championships because you're there for 2 or 3% of the day.
But when you're sitting for
15 minutes, 20 minutes without lifting your foot at all. No, that was quite dramatic.
And hanging on, because 200 k's an hour on dirt.
And you're looking so carefully. You've seen what happens, how quickly the cars go over. So what happens in the car is you're trying to look as carefully as you can. And I always felt in the car, my eyes were coming out of my head because you're looking so hard to try and see in front of you because it's a split second. If you don't pick up that little bump or jump and take yourself from
at those speeds, you only need a...
Yeah, it's not... It's become more critical, yeah. So you have a headache at the end of the day. You're mentally fatigued. You're exhausted from just trying to concentrate that you're going so fast. It's quite dramatic, yeah.
One of the other questions we had, Wayne Watt. You had a comment yesterday that was the second 3-minute penalty for Alonso. No, it wasn't. He's only got one 3-minute penalty. And just to recap, that penalty came because they were in a tightish area, and Stefan Peter Hansel was behind him and going on the sentinel, and he didn't move over.
So it was
not
NASA.
Sorry, NASA.
Yeah.
Fernando hasn't got any penalties so far. And then to answer your question, Hendrik van Graan, about where's the Century built and all the rest of it. It's South African, built by Century Racing, and they under Justin Hardy, and they based out at Staines City. So there's a couple of answers. Have you got anything yet? Is anybody watching us?
No, there's a couple of people watching us, Carl. There's Greg's online, Greg Charman. How's it going? Richard Ritz is actually watching.
The Dutchman.
So
how are you, my boy?
So he's actually asked a question here for Evan. He asks if you remember that you guys were supposed to race Dakar together.
We're still going to.
Are you still going to? So there you go, Richard.
When Richard has finished with his career of rubber duck racing.
Yeah, when he's finished
double-racking.
Yeah. And blowing up engines.
How's it? Keith's online as well. And then on YouTube, we've got Jaco van Sail. Jan Stradum says, how's it, guys? And Greg says, yes, that tunnel vision when you're going at that speed.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Richard, we joke about you breaking engines, but I tell you what, my heart broke when I think it was day 3, that the engine broke in the rubber duck in that race. But he's going to the World Championship of Rubber Duck Racing in Stilbaai later this year. Reggie, just put the dates down there. They've slipped my mind. Production department didn't make me notes. So we'll have a chat with him. But he's a proper racer, that guy.
You don't want to race against him. You race with him in your car, but you don't race against him. Anything. I think he's been an inspiration for me for many years. But if you get to know him and you just see how passionate he is and how intelligent, and he taught me a huge amount about racing.
He is so freaking competitive. Some say you go for a car launch and he wants to race the cars.
You can't get anywhere.
Some say that around an oval. I'm told, it is alleged. Legend has it. That Reggie raced.
One of the first days I met him,
Scariest day of my life there.
I was still racing on a quad, and I was doing some training, and they came to watch. I was working on racing cars at the time. He was involved with racing cars. I was still on quads. I was doing some laps. He arrived in a VW Caddy,
Yeah.
Bucky, and he told me that he'll go as fast as me around the track in
And he
my
did.
quad. So obviously I took on the challenge because it was impossible. There's no ways you could go. Yeah, he did.
No, he's
He did.
proper.
He was
And
on
you know
it
that
was
he-
unbelievable. It was just, he's a talent. It's just,
Legend has it that he invented Red Bull vodka at Killarney Racetrack years ago.
He probably did, eh?
I was there. I saw it. Red Bull sponsored me, and somehow Reggie found a vodka bottle. Red Bull vodka.
Perfect. Oh, he did well. Well done,
I
Reggie.
tell you what,
Well done.
but that was in
No, he's a
wild
legend.
Reggie days.
He is a
For those of you who don't know Evan Hutchinson, multiple South African rally champion, multiple South African cross-country racing champion, will race anything, is super competitive and can talk more than I can. And he's got friends in places that I don't even have. So he's a mine of information, and he's our today's insider of Dakar. Let's quickly go to stage 10. They were supposed to go from Harad to Siabuta, but they didn't. As we said, the bikes got stopped at kilometer 345, and the cars got stopped at 223. By the way, that yellow Toyota that we saw there was Roman Starikovic and Bert Heskes. So our hopes are with them that their backs get sorted and they can get back into racing soon. They went into this. This was the start of the marathon stage, and they went into the middle of nothing. And to give you an idea of what nothing looks like, we'll show you a picture a little bit later. But they went into, it was absolutely just sand and for miles and miles of nowhere. And the plot was, well, the plan is they're busy sleeping in barracks, but we're going to get to those a little bit later. Let's have a look at the bikes and get a quick result of who it was. So another great day for Honda with Joan Boreda from Ricky Brabeck and Kevin Benavides, and then Mr. Price on his KTM at 8 minutes and 45 seconds. Leila Sainz was the first female. And then from an SA perspective, Kirsty Lottman had her best day of today, finishing 47 minutes behind in 44th position. And just the last 3 days, she was 64th, 63rd, and 44th. So great progress for Kirsty. And the stage today was, they'd finished the Dunified stage, and that's where she's strong. She's not strong on the high-speed stage, and that's why she just climbed up there. So well done, Kirsty Lottman. Stuart Gregory, 52nd, Tate Perry, 67th, and then Graham Sharp, 70th. Now, and Graham's doing it the Mali Motor.
I take my hat off to
I can't.
That's all you can do.
I can't fathom. I've got massive respect for somebody.
The whole concept's crazy. It's the toughest race, a motorsport event in the world. And then someone, I think it was Castera, who came up with a concept.
But it's been going on for a long time.
But to take it such a difficult race and then just make it so much more difficult.
The thing is, it's triply even more difficult because they race for so much longer than the top guys. So the top guys have come in and they've had all their stuff, but you get good value for your money because you're doing it.
Guys, I've got a couple of questions coming in here. Some interesting ones. Sean Fashveld is asking, obviously stating it was a hectic stage today. How do they calculate the time so that it's fair, seeing that it was shortened and all that sort of stuff? So obviously at that cutoff point,
there's checkpoints.
Yeah.
And so they took them at a refuel point for the bikes, and at there was a checkpoint and a neutralization, very short neutralization point as they come out of the dunes. So everybody goes from the start of the race. So it's so far away, it's over there, and they come back into the checkpoint. So you've all covered the same distance, and racing's about time.
Yeah, they know, they've got
time.
times on all the cars, the Track system and etc. They know exactly where they are, how long they've been going, speed. They know everything about them, so they can put they can choose a point and wherever they want. Really, it doesn't even have to be at a checkpoint. But yeah, they are in full control of all the speeds, distances.
So in that
time.
250 Ks, we lost 6 bikes.
Crazy.
We'll talk about how many cars we lost as well.
A quick one before you carry on the car. Peter Anker is asking here, where did NASA get lost, and will they give him some time back?
No, you only get time back. Let's just talk about this lost thing. They never really lost because they always know exactly where they are.
Or they're always lost.
But they don't know where they're not where they want to be.
Yeah.
That's not the definition of lost. They just haven't found it yet.
Correct.
Because it's basically a treasure hunt.
Yeah, correct. They're searching for waypoints. So some of them you find easier than others. Some of them are more difficult to find. They put them behind a big dune, or but you're looking for a waypoint. So he took a long time to find the waypoint. Would be a better way of explaining lost. But I suppose at the same time, if you knew exactly where you were and the waypoint, you don't know where they are. You're looking for them.
And the thing was that Stefan Peter Hansel opened the stage. NASA was second. NASA they got very close together, and they both were driving around in circles looking for the waypoint. So they drive, and then the other guys cruise in, and just as they found the waypoint, so they find the waypoint and bolt for it, everybody else gets there and they say, okay, fine, there it is.
And that's where Sainz got there. He was further back. Carlos arrived there, and that's where he picked up his 17-minute lead.
And then Carlos decided, King Carlos, and Glyn was saying that he's never seen him drive as well as this, ever, in the history of Carlos. So, he's years gone by, we would have said it's a matter of time before he chucks it into a ditch. I mean, he did that in the lead with, I forget who was navigating. I'll tell you who was navigating. Wasn't Dirk van Zitzwitz navigating? Anyway, somebody chucked it in, Carlos chucked it into the ditch, while leading and basically going to win the Dakar for free. And that was the year that Janil won.
I think he fell asleep.
Janil won, Janil won with Dirk van Zitzwitz the year that Carlos chucked it into the ditch in the VW. But it doesn't look like it, eh?
But and on that point, so 17 minutes at this stage of the game. I mean, there were 24 seconds in it this morning. So we were back in the race, and it was all super exciting. I had a feeling that between today and tomorrow things were gonna change, and
there was no ways that the three of them are going to end up. One of them
something was going to happen, and obviously we're all hoping it was going to work for NASA, being South African Toyota supporters, but it seemed it worked against him. That, like you say, they got lost. Sainz arrived as they found their way. So he's 17 minutes is a long time. They got to work their way.
But the pressure gets even more for NASA because he's only 24 seconds ahead of Stefan Peter Hansel now.
Correct.
So now instead of, it's like sometimes you're the pigeon and sometimes you're the statue. Yesterday he was the pigeon and Carlos was the statue. Today he's the statue and Peter Hansel's the pigeon. Or is it the nail in the hammer? You know what I mean. That sort of thing. So second, and I love this guy's name, Jakob Przgonski and Timo Gottschalk in a Mini number 303. But that's a 4x4 Mini, a BMW, a Mini. Because it's basically an X3 with a mini body on it, isn't it?
Yeah, it's been a while. They did swap over from BMs to Minis, but it's been a while. You can forget about BM now. They're getting too much coverage. They should pay for the extra coverage. And
then in a great third position today, Janelle de Villiers and Alex Harrow in the Hilux, and they were only 4:26 behind Carlos, and Carlos went on maximum attack. So Peter Hansel was 11 minutes. It wasn't 17. So Peter Hansel was 11 minutes. And then Matthew Serradori and Fabian Lurkin in the Century. They came in 12th. But there's a story. Yesterday they lost a lot of time with a power steering issue with a little seal that went in it. So that got all fixed. And then he had a roll. And I think we've got a picture of the car after the roll. There, you've got to look very carefully. This is a picture in the bivouac actually. But if you look at the front left of the car, so it's our right, or the right of picture, you can see one of the mudguards broken, and it's not a very, very clean windscreen that they've got. There's no windscreen in it.
Is there a windscreen?
No, definitely not.
I thought that, that's interesting because I'd heard that they damaged it, but it wasn't too bad and they could carry on. But if they've taken it out, well, that's I think they were also missing a door. I think they were also missing a door, but they've gone back.
Julian said to me that it was minor stuff, cosmetic stuff.
It is when you roll and you miss the door. The door doesn't really do anything when it seals the car, but when the windscreen's gone, you probably better out without the door.
Without the door. So
in fact, last year there was a two-wheel drive buggy that lost his windscreen, so he carried on going, and then it just blew the doors off. Yeah,
so now they'll put their goggles on, so to keep clean. But navigating with all that dust around it has got to be not so good. And Fernando Alonso is in exactly the same position because after his roll, and Henk, have you got the pictures of that roll? Is it working or not so good? Okay, we got still pictures, but so Fernando had this roll. It came off down the first place we showed you, and he actually carried on going. But it turns out they've broken the windscreen, and there's some misalignment of the front suspension, so that's not so lacquer. And he came in 17th today. Lost 17 minutes.
Before we move on, just quickly, I saw the video, many videos of him rolling, but one of them, which I'm sure most people have seen, he comes off the side, he rolls down, he stalls it in the roll, but the first thing he does is hit the start button. So as the guy walks, as he takes a few steps close to the car, it must be 2-3 seconds after it's finished, he's already on the start button.
And it's 2 reasons. One is I want to get the hell out of here in case something else comes out of the sky. He just wants
to go.
But the other thing, but how cool! If you had to pick a personality of the race, Fernando Alonso. End of discussion.
Oh, he's cool. He was a great before he got there. Let's be honest, he was a great. And,
absolutely.
He's just proving what he's all about. Never mind his pace, his attitude. I've heard so many nice things about him. He's taken it on himself. He sort of said to the guys, "Well, look, he's made his mistake, so I'm here to help."
Yeah.
You know, he's quite a unique guy.
I've got a hell of a lot more respect for him now. I sort of went off Fernando when he was whining about the engine in his McLaren, but I've now gone. I'm a full-on Alonso fan again.
That is cool.
You've got stuff.
Yeah, we've got a lot of people joining us. Thank you for the comments, and keep them coming. If there's questions, please just pop them in the comments. I've got Peter Bell says, how many kilometers left, and can NASA still maybe catch the leaders?
Anything is possible. Probable? No.
Probably not. No, he won't catch them on pace. That's not going to happen. No.
Yeah.
We can answer that. There's 2 stages left. Tomorrow they're racing 348, 350 of race. There's probably 300. I think the same 320 liaison.
380 tomorrow, 365, and then
it's the last day.
Friday. We don't want the map now. On Friday. Yeah, let's have a look at the map for tomorrow. I mean, what the bloody hell?
Yeah.
So tomorrow they're coming back from Shubatia to Harad, and it's the first 40 kilos is massive dunes, I'm told.
On the way home?
Yeah.
Yeah, back out of where they were. So it'll be a similar...
So that's going to be a hell of a interesting.
Yeah,
but kind of reverse. Mm-hmm. And then on Friday, there's a lot of tar that they're just going to drive on.
Well, how much racing?
They're racing 374 Ks.
So there's 700 kilometers left of racing, and as we've seen, they're so closely matched. Even if it's super tough dunes, or if it's super fast, there's not 17 minutes in it. So,
But for second and third, there's seconds.
Well, there's a race on there. We're talking about that.
It's a proper race. You know, even when the gap is what it is, and let's just go to that gap.
Many cars have stopped with 2 days to go, or when I say stopped, had problems. And all you need is a power steering problem, or 2 or 3 punches, or anything to happen to the car, and it brings it back. But at the moment, that really worked in his favour. I mean, that was my heart sunk when I saw that 70 minutes. It hurt me because you can come back, and there's lots you can do, but.
It was getting so excited. So there are the gaps. And you can see it's 18 minutes, 10 seconds, Carlos to NASA. And then that's that tiny little 24-second gap. So that's, it's going to be very, very interesting. Some of the others that are, Alonso yesterday he was in the 10th, he's down in 14th now. with Mark Comer in the car. And we've got to get, and we need to do this when we go into the South African Cross Country Series, we must get into the habit of talking about Alonso and Comer, because it's a team. It's a two-car team. Can you lead with that, Evan? Thank you very much. Appreciate that. And then in the overall, Henny de Klerk is 29th with Jan Smallberger in the Nissan. That's a Redline. Check there. Yeah, Redline Motorsport. That's a very nice shirt. Where did you get this?
The Dakar last year. This was our kit from the Dakar. Here's my Saudi, my UAE flag. This was our kit from last year. Yeah.
Very cool. So that was Peru. Eh?
Peru, yeah.
Only in one country.
Yeah.
So we lost 3 cars again today, and the quads. Now I've got to get this right. So Kamil Wisniewski, he's a Polish guy. That's why there's a ski at the end. He won today's stage, and Ignacio Casali leads from. He's a Frenchman. Leads from Simon Vitesse, and the gap's now only 15 minutes. So we lost another quad today as well. And I'm getting onto my favourite here in the SSVs. Mitchell Guthrie and Blade Hildebrand in the OT3s. They drilled everybody again today. Yesterday it was the other way around. Hildebrand won, and Guthrie and Olaf Lewin. I see I break my own rules. So it's Blade Hildebrand and Francois Cazalet in the OT3s, which are proper racing things. They've got a Ford, I'm told, a Ford Fiesta 1000cc turbo with a sequential gearbox in it. Casey Curry and Sean Berryman were 7th, 11th on the stage was Conrad Rotenbach, and production didn't put it in here, and they're still 4th. So there were 37 SSVs. And now my favorite, and I've been practicing, because we've left out the Camion, which are brilliant. These trucks are, don't you just love the trucks?
No,
they're mind-blowing,
beasts of the day. They're unbelievable.
I mean, when you see the behemoth.
It's one of those things that you see them on TV. You got to be there. You got to watch them come past. Feel the earth shudders when they come past. And there was a stage we watched last year, a refuel, and you pulled off from the refuel up. You could see for probably 1.5 kilometers. And as the different competitors came, they churned up the ground more and more and more. So when Nasser left, as he crested the valley in front of us, or the plain in front of us, he was probably 4th gear flat out, and as each car went, he churned it up, and it got slow and slow and slow, to a point where one of the bikes could hardly get out of 2nd gear. It was just so rough, and the trucks arrived, and they went back to NASA speed. So in this unbelievably rough terrain, we've watched it deteriorate. They just disappeared. So they're brutal. I think they're just absolutely brutal. Yeah.
So for the non-fans of the trucks, there's a driver and a co-driver and a riding mechanic. Brings you back to 2 days, and that's how they entered. So, and I've been saying that the Russians are winning, and which is still true. So the Russians won again today, but Anton Shivalov and Dmitry Nikitin and the mechanic Ivan Tetrinov, I know this Russian, yeah. They're in a Kamaz, but still it's Andrei Karganov and Andrei Mokiv with Igor Leonov, who's the mechanic. And so the Kamaz are still winning 36 minutes ahead. I mean, the Russians, first of all, the Dutch came, the Van Roys. They drilled everybody. Thank you very much. That's why you're here. I'm Dorf.
And you mustn't upset the Russians.
And then the Russians came and said, comrade, we show you. Yeah. And basically the Russians are dominating the thing. But let's go back to tonight. I've had some voice coaching, so it's tonight. They will sleep in the desert, and I'm hoping that we've got some pictures. You very kindly from your spies in the business. They showed us the dorms. So we're starting off with some beds, and this is where the teams are sleeping, and it's proper. They haven't done a marathon like this the first time.
It's all built brand new for this.
Yeah, no, but they haven't. This is the first time we're seeing a marathon like this, because in South America it always used to be guys going to keep in the hotels and their tents. Now they're isolated. There's no team members there. There's nothing.
Correct. We've had the marathon stage where no one's allowed to work on the car, etc., etc. But they've bent those rules so badly, like a lot of the rules, that they've now put them in the middle of nowhere.
See, the cars are all nice. Check the bikers around. They scommel it out.
Yeah, but they've got a lot of stuff to put on. If you ride motorbikes, it takes half an hour.
And it's good. We want to talk about the weather, but let's just carry on about the...
So they put them far away, and people used to, through various ways and means...
They say,
used to get stuff in that you needed, go and drop stuff off in the desert and put it outside, and Oaks would go and fetch it. And so, as per usual, there were rules, and they pushed all these things to the limit, and you could get parts in.
And I think Casteria's done a brilliant job there on the road book #1.
Correct.
Oh, and just FYI, this is a closed road book race as well.
Today and
tomorrow.
Yeah.
So it's double whammy.
Yeah.
The teams are all back.
It's back to
in Herod.
It's back to what all the Dakar, when it originally started, that's what it was. Every day was new, and there wasn't. Everyone was on a level playing field. Obviously now with these big factory teams, it's become very professional. So when you're in the pits, it's one story, but so they put them in the middle of nowhere. You can't get, you can't wander around there. If you're there, they don't know what are you doing here.
I'm told that in days gone by, where a navigator or a driver may stay in a hotel, you'd stumble along and,
Correct.
Oh my God, let me pick up this
What's
debris
that?
here. This looks
like the
coincidence.
Here's
Here's the wishbone I need. Oh my God.
Jesus, what a wonderful place to be. A lovely hotel.
Yeah. And one of the teams that had a roll today, interestingly, can we mention their names?
Yeah.
So Century Racing, they rolled and they broke the windscreen. So they had an opportunity to send a new windscreen out to the bivouac tonight for the guys to fit it. And they made the decision not to send it because it was clearly against the spirit of the rules.
They asked if they could, because there's a rule on that rest day, if anything dramatically safety related can be done.
You mean not the rest day, the bivouac, the marathon?
The marathon stage, my apologies. So if it's safety related and if you've torn a seatbelt, you can put a new seatbelt in, etc.
Yeah.
Water, you can always get water from any other competitor. There's certain things, they're very few. But
you can swap amongst.
If
your service truck arrives and it happens to have a windscreen in it, you can take the windscreen out.
Oh,
and put it on.
that they can do.
Yeah.
So as you spoke of last night, the top drivers are going to bed and their cars are going to be serviced by other competitors. Those competitors have been entered in the race. They are competitors, but
that's their job.
That's their specific job. So Julian obviously trying to solve issues here. He's managing or helping that whole team run, and they're doing really well. And they've broken a windscreen, which is quite dramatic in the car. So they asked for permission, and I'm not too sure how it went, but I think someone said yes, someone else said no, someone else said yes, and they weren't too sure. Eventually they said, no, you can. So they were going to send one there, and obviously he's trying to manage this process quite carefully, because all you want is the wrong person has said yes or no.
I mean, imagine the scene.
Exactly.
They come back tomorrow, they win tomorrow, and they win Friday.
And cheers.
And you can guarantee
so
me
I think he's taken an executive decision there to say, guys, deal with it. You're up there. They're having an incredible event.
I mean, who would have thought?
No, they fight. Look, it was really unfortunate that they got stuck.
8th overall.
8. They were running. They were even higher. Anyway,
they were 5th.
Correct. They were running in the top 5, that's front page. That to me is there's 1 to 5. So. Anyway, it's still a good thing. It's still an incredible result, and I think it was an intelligent thing. I think he had his thinking hat on, and he said, you know what, let's not chance us. So yeah,
they've made their mark, they've done their job. Now they've just got to get it to the end and finish.
550 k's from where they are where the teams are at the moment to this is how far they've sent them out into the desert. So it would have been a 1,100 kilometer round trip to go and drop something off. So.
Or you could ask for maybe one of the photography helicopters to.
Depends who you know.
I tell you what, if it was a Peugeot team, the helicopter would say, "Oh, guys, we've got an emergency. We need to take a camera out there," and just happen to drop some. But allegedly, some say. So in the bivouac tonight, they're all going to sleep. It's different to previous years. They're all. In that, what happens if the oaks start snoring?
They do.
I know. Well, when they snore.
Most of them are going to snore. You snore together.
And you get it all in vibe.
You fall
I don't think it's
first.
a problem at this stage of the game. Snoring that bothers your average person at home in bed is not going to
These guys are tired.
They can't sleep. Yeah.
And just to go to that part of Dakar, sleep deprivation is, without a doubt, a tactic or it's integral with the Dakar. Rough, long stages, sleep deprivation, and long liaisons.
Definitely. It's so tough. So depending on it's not every day, but the tougher your days are, the longer it takes to get back, the less sleep you get, the more tired you get, the more fatigued you get, and it just gets more and more difficult. So that's why it's so tough.
I'll tell you who will be really welcoming this tonight are the guys in the Malimoto.
Yeah, it
because
doesn't
they don't
change.
have to put their
No,
tent
they-
up. And there's no work for them. So
This
it's
is-
basically it's a night off for them.
It's exactly, and they've been saying that for years. It makes no difference to them. In fact, like I say, probably easier.
Evan, what have been your highlights so far? We've still got 2 stages left. What are your 2 highlights of this the 2020 Dakar, the Saudi edition?
I think the trend toward all the changes and the trend towards bringing back what the Dakar traditionally was, which is a big thing. I mean, it's a big thing. Dakar was huge. We all grew up with it. Most of my life's been guided by off-road racing, and this was this massive carrot. And but as it was in the good old African days, so it was super hard and tough. And once I went to South America, it changed. I think it got diluted a little bit, and it changed quite a bit, and it was losing its impact. And
then when it went to just Peru, it was.
correct.
That was a budget one.
The one I finally got to was the easiest, smallest, and it wasn't. It was as worse as bad as the Dakar was going to get. They realised it, and they've made all the changes that they need to make. So, number one is the Dakar seems to be back on track. It's bad. It's hard. It's hardcore. It's long stages.
Comments I've heard though is that possibly a little bit more work needs to be done on dropping the like 40Ks flat out. Do me a favour.
Look, the same people that have been marking routes, or generally they know what they're doing. They mark. So maybe they want to do. That's what the Dakar is always going to do. Don't think you know the Dakar. So we used to.
We'll surprise you.
We used to something, and maybe the French people spoke to the other French people and said that the French people that are racing are very fast in a straight line.
No, they wouldn't do that.
So everyone will go home and build new cars, and lekker now it's super fast, and they
come in, it's all super tight.
Correct, you're not going to do more than 70 k's an hour average. So that is part of the Dakar. It was the unexpected. So, but anyway, highlight number one is Dakar seems to be back what it used to be.
Yeah.
Even better, because they put in the guys in incredible places, and when they need it, and but when they go racing, it's super tough. So that's one highlight. I was enjoying and hoping for Janelle equally as you were. I thought that old and wise is what wins here. I mean, people ask me, am I not too, or they tell me that I'm too old to race.
Dakar doesn't get won by young guys.
There's only old, wise, grey people. That if you haven't got grey hair, you're not gonna make it to the end.
That's why Sebi Loeb, he tried. He has the world's greatest
gravel driver. Yeah.
Greatest rallyist ever. Maybe Colin McRae, but I mean Colin McRae did Dakar, and the earth is still hurting from the way McRae murdered that Nissan into it.
Correct. Yeah. Loeb was great. He had stage wins. He had the pace, but it's this adventure. It just takes so long. It's 14 days, and you've got to get your head around all of that. And Carlos, who's also super quick and super good, he's been there. He's fallen asleep. He's had accidents. He's rolled. He's gone off cliffs. He's now been there long enough to be able to join all the dots. And
maybe this is his last hurrah.
Maybe if he wins, it is. Anyway, point is old and wise,
yeah.
And he's doing really well. But
so there's still hope for Richard Roots.
Yeah, he's still young at heart.
No, I'm told he's way over 40.
That's young.
You've got another question.
He actually came back and he said, Wim Colin. So yeah, he says the Rubber Duck World Champs is installed by SA this year, 21 to 28 March.
28 March in Stilbaai.
It
is going to be, I'm told, Henk, that our production department is furiously working on taking Raceday.tv down to the World Rubber Duck Championships in Stilbaai. Elsa Tiart lives there. Maybe we can go and she can help us, show us around. What else you got?
I've got, I think we can say how's it to Terence Marsh. He's watching us.
Marshy, all the way in Arabland. Well done on getting check the saber-tooth here. Well done on getting your vehicles through there. We would have loved to have spoken to you, but I believe the signal is a bit not so lacquer. And thank you very much for all the voice notes that you've been sending us, Terence. It's been a massive, massive help.
Most of what we know, we've been told by him.
Yeah.
I've got a few people. But I'm not finished before, just a quick
your other highlight.
And the third highlight has to be said, Century Property, Julian, Mark Corbett. These oaks have been doing this for 15, 16 years. I raced against them. We all know about it. They've put in a huge amount of time, love, energy, money. and they really deserved.
Keep talking
They
about
really
that.
deserved what they got. That stage win was incredible, up against the best in the business.
I think it's 20-something years ago that a privateer last won a stage in Dakar. I think.
I don't know that. I don't know.
I
wouldn't
saw
be
something
surprised.
a little bit earlier and in the production meeting,
It's
but
a
I
long time,
didn't make notes.
but
It's
no,
a bit of a long time,
But
let's put it that way.
What's a privateer?
Well, a non-factory car.
Yeah, so I mean, there were guys that won. What was his name?
Yeah, go with it. We got a picture of this car again. No, man, that was the overall one, not the stage one. That's Jackie X's G-Wagon. But put it up there because it's a lacquer car. And besides, Jackie X, here's a legend. He never won a world championship, but he was the master of Nürburgring. He was my hero. Master of Nürburgring, master of a Porsche 956 962, then goes and wins it in the G-Wagon and also in a Porsche 959, believe it or not. So let's go back to Century.
John Louis Schlesser, was he
Yes.
a factory? Because I think he won stages and it wasn't 20 years ago, but he was, okay, anyway, that's what I'm saying. What's the price? They've done a brilliant job and it's definitely a highlight. I mean, they put in some good times at the beginning of the Dakar. They had come off what should have been a win at the Morocco Rally. So they knew they had pace. The car's really come good. They've obviously got a great team of mechanics looking after it, and they've got great driver, great navigator. You need a bit of everything to do well. So
okay, I'll give you that. It's 20 years ago because Schlesser, Jean-Louis, and he had Monet as his co-driver in the first one, and then he had Magny in the second one, 1999 and 2000. I'll tell you what.
there you go.
Yeah,
was that 20 years ago?
You did higher grade maths.
No, I
Oh
didn't do
my
maths.
word.
I didn't do maths. It was hard. I was going to be a racing driver. I didn't need it.
Yes. Last two questions.
I've got here, Yaku van Sale wants to know what's the relationship between Overdrive,
And
Toyota, and
yeah.
Toyota Gazoo Racing.
So let's go back to, I think the relationship really starts when Glyn Hall was still at Nissan Motorsport and he started building Buckies and Nissan Buckies and needed help to go to Dakar and hooked up with this Belgian squad, Overdrive. And so Overdrive basically helped with the logistics and running of the vehicle of the South African manufactured team. And that relationship has grown from those days into where it is now, that Overdrive build certain of the Hall-Speed designed Toyota Buckies in Belgium under license to Hall-Speed here. And the latest version of the vehicles they will buy complete from Hall-Speed. And so the partnership is that they basically run the privateer teams and supply some of the logistics. It's a very, very interesting and complex relationship, but without a doubt, the Gazoo racing cars are run entirely by the South African guys. And Overdrive's involvement on the Gazoo cars is trucks and some logistics. So that is where it is at the moment.
Awesome. And then just to let you feel a little bit better, Jan Stradum says Reggie calls everybody so it's got nothing to do with your age apparently.
Oh, that's so nice.
Yeah. So do you feel better now?
Much, much better. I'm feeling all young again. I'm glad we agree on the Century Racing. That to me is a super highlight. Fani, a highlight from you in this race? Have you got one? Being in the studio with us, answering questions.
Yeah, I think seeing Alonso race his first Dakar is probably one of the biggest highlights for me, and I think he's doing pretty well for his first time out. So and obviously today and Dakar being Dakar, getting all the elements involved and entertaining us, it was a pretty interesting day today.
So why don't we've heard our highlights over here. Alonso, Century Racing, going back to getting the real Dakar. Why don't you tell us in the comments thing, whichever platform you're watching on, put in the comments thing what your highlights are, and possibly we can discuss it tomorrow. I think we might have another guest in tomorrow. Our logistics department was working furiously on it and hasn't confirmed. So let us know that. But Evan, we've now spent, or by the end of this week, we'll have spent 2 weeks of huge mega racing in Dakar world level of things. And at the end of February, beginning of March, Henk, have you got the calendar of the cross-country series?
28th of February, last weekend of
28th of February, and 28th and 29th of February.
I think so, yes.
Yeah.
Last
It's a
weekend
leap
of
year,
February.
yeah.
So there you go. 28, 29 February, and that's in, where's it?
Dullstroom.
Dullstroom.
Dullstroom, cool race, great race to go watch. Nice and close, awesome event.
And we can go fishing there as well.
Fishing, restaurants.
So now we've spent these 2 weeks with these apex vehicles in Dakar, but they're coming to race in South Africa.
Awesome.
How
isn't it?
cool is that?
Yeah. So there's probably the Century, not that particular car, but Mark's got his own car, and
But it's the same spec car.
I asked him a
Maybe
question.
less carbon.
No, same car, identical. He has an identical car, which is the latest version. I did ask him. I'm on a WhatsApp group with him, and he went over. Obviously, the owner of the team.
I saw also a picture.
And he went over with his kids. I don't know how it all worked out, but they needed some more parts. They'd run out a few spares, and so he probably went over. So he arrived there that day, and the next day they won their stage.
Great timing. Eh?
So which was really good for him. Like I said earlier on, they put in a lot of time and effort, and that just must have been the most awesome experience for him. So,
And let's just say this again: designed, built, and mostly developed in South Africa. They did a little bit of fine tuning in the testing that where they went to France, the Frenchies.
It's just incredible. I mean, it's hard to put into perspective. I asked a question last night. I was watching last night. I asked a question about how come we've got such a small little country, and so few people in the country who go racing, yet we build the fastest car in the world until 2 days' time, because we still the Toyota's still
the reigning Dakar champion is a Toyota.
Toyota's built
stage winner this year.
Stage winner. So the Toyotas, we build the Nissans. The two Nissans are there this year. They've done many. I don't know how many stages. Terence was a couple of 100 and something.
122. Say I'd worked out the percentage. They are 98% reliable.
98% reliable.
In all the stages they've started, they've
basically with when I say with amateur drivers. Anyway, so incredible
Gentleman
story.
drive.
Absolutely incredible story. The Nissans, the Fords. There are some there this year. One got slapped by that big truck you saw going up the hill.
We had a bit of a discussion with that. So the car gets, they've had a bit of an issue, so it's parked on the side of the road. They fix the car, and a truck's coming down, and the truck moves over, and as they get going, they meet in the middle.
Well, it's tricky. You don't want to point fingers and...
No, that's why.
I watched it,
I just said they met.
The first time I saw it, I thought, ooh. But when you watch it, the truck seizes a car in the road, so he pulls out.
Yeah.
Then he's on this outside, he's looking for a gap to get back in or go back in, and then as he gets close, the car pulls off.
Yeah.
He then chooses his line, but this guy hasn't looked back, which is fault number one.
Yeah. And he's also got his foot pinned.
And as he gets out, he's got his own problems he's dealing with. As he pulls back in, the truck collides with him. So, in my opinion,
accident.
It's not the truck's fault. But at the same time, if you see a guy there, you see he's battling, at any stage he could come. But yeah, it's called a racing accident. It wasn't on purpose. Anyway, so you've got the Fords, you've got the Nissans, you've got the Toyotas already, which is incredible.
Right.
I mean, it's mind-blowing all on its own.
Hold on. And now we've got two new vehicles that are shaping. So you've got the Century.
Correct.
Stage winner.
Correct.
And then you've got the Can-Am.
Can-Am's built by Stuart and Achim.
Well, okay, designed by Achim. These were built in by South under license from them.
But they will build their own, and for all intents and purposes, I call it their car. It doesn't really.
We've got a picture of the blue bird frame from Birdcage from yesterday. Hey?
So that car's up there in the top. I think he's running in third or fourth position now. Conrad Reichenbach, another top world class driver. Yeah. But it doesn't make sense that there's just so many South African cars, competitors, the competitiveness of the South Africans.
So that's the racing chassis.
That's what it's all about. Your chassis is your backbone of the car.
But we've got theories as to why. Okay, hold on. And now let's just put into that the number of South Africans throughout the bivouac. And you've got Scotty Abrams running South Racing.
Correct.
Major German team.
You've got another South African sitting next to Cyril Dupre.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't add up. For some reason, it just doesn't add up. I I'd love to know exactly why. Obviously, we've all got opinions. I think it's got to do with our local sport. Obviously, it has something to do with them. How much of it, I don't know. Which is born out of our farmers and our sport being so strong in this country, is that we've got beautiful terrain. We've got farmers who go racing. They used to build their own cars. So it put together a huge, powerful base.
Yeah. So there's a great foundation.
Great foundation. And then there's people like Glenn, or a person like Glenn, Neil Woolridge. We've had guys who have gone to Dakar, Schultemers and Hannes Groblers and a whole lot of these guys, and Alfie Cox, and anyone who really goes overseas. If you arrive at the Dakar, you ever get chit-chat and the guy finds out you're from South Africa, he's nervous.
Yeah.
He's got it because the cars, the drivers, it's just the
and that attitude. I think that's another thing that leads to the success. Where in general we've got an attitude where bugger it, let's do it.
Hardcore.
Just make it happen.
Well, that's how we live here. You've got to keep yourselves alive, so there's a lot of influencing factors, and our championship, which
and they're clever people here as well. Eh?
Yeah, very incredibly. We just think we're racing oaks, and we keep our mouths shut when it comes to talking about how clever we are. But we didn't know. I went overseas last year a couple of times during the year to some big races, Abu Dhabi Desert Challenge, and some World Cup races. And I realised there, I've been moaning for the last 15 years about our racing, that it wasn't perfect. And why is this and why is that? And it was a big eye opener that our championship, our national championship in South Africa, is way better than any other national championship.
And it's not you who's just saying this because you're involved in it. It's said by other competitors. The Brazilian guys who drive for Neil.
Correct.
They're Brazilian champions.
Baumgarts.
Yeah. He's a Brazilian champion, and his best result in South Africa is third.
Yeah. It's there's no doubt. Well, the proof is in the pudding now. There it is. We're tasting it. You're seeing cars at Raceday in South Africa, and get beaten. The Ford might win, and the Toyota might win, and if he doesn't win, he's a couple of seconds behind, and they're all super competitive. And then you put them on this world stage, and there we are near the top. It's brilliant. It's a fairy tale.
If you've got the Dakar bug, go and have a look at the South African Cross Country Series page. There's a website, and they're on Facebook as well. And book yourself 28-29 February in Dullstroom. And Henkel take a look at these dates. There's a full-on championship that goes through all sorts of areas in South Africa. I think I really can't see that far, so I'm just pulling this picture up here. April Sugar Belt, not Mealie Fields. What are they doing?
Sugarcane.
Sugar, hey.
Yeah. Close.
Turn left, right?
Yeah, they're both tall and green. An incredible race. And
Clarence.
That's
like
all new.
State,
Yeah,
Clarence is a super trendy place, like goes for weekends and culture and shit.
But we've been down there to have a quick look, and it's going to be awesome.
And then you also went to Botswana and destroyed Botswana. You went in a desert race that we're running in winter. Clever Boy goes in summer. How are the rivers in Botswana? Lovely place there, eh?
Beautiful. No one believed the pictures. They said I was enhancing them all, and that's not real. You can't believe it. It was just.
And the thing about the Botswana, Ross Branch's home country, is that the crowds have embraced this race.
It's a problem. It's actually a big problem there.
It's white people's problems.
There's so many people. The 1 year that we get told these things, but officially get told there were over 100,000 people watching throughout the weekend. Over 100,000 people watching this race. We had a breakdown 1 year, at a couple of breakdowns at the desert. I wasn't too lucky there, but it took us 5.5 hours to do 23 kilometers.
You get lost.
No, people on the roads. So the roads get full, then they move off to the side, and then that gets full, then they move to the side, but then they're partying. It's unbelievable. It's hard to explain. It's just
that's South America,
thousands and thousands of people. You can't believe what it's like. So we're in a new area. We raced there once. That's going to be a great race.
And then we go to Dronkvoortspruit. Lekker place that.
Yeah.
Is that going to be in where there's that transport museum?
No, there's the same pits we lost. There's a little function venue that we have the pits out of. Yeah.
And then my favorite in Botawil for the Nampo 400.
That's going to be new. Yeah, that's going to be new, fast and dusty.
That is one of the largest agricultural exhibitions in the world. I've been there.
Yeah, we're not on the
It
same
is.
weekend. Let me just clarify. It's not Wild Name.
Oh, come on. Man. Oh, no, man.
We're not.
Okay, but it's in Boerewil.
There's actually nothing.
It's
in the same grounds.
Cool. So we can get a feel of what it's
Yeah,
like.
it looks like the Old Range show if you ever went to the Old Range show. But this
But
show
better.
we're running on our own. The following year, there's another show they're going to have their big hunting and fishing and whatever show there. And
Are the oaks from Four Ways Gardens coming there with their hunting knives or their swords?
those are the ninjas.
Yeah.
I've got a question
Hopefully
here.
they'll get
I've
it.
got a question. Do you know Franco Pretorius?
Yes.
Do you know him?
Yes.
Does he know
Well,
where you
there's a
live?
couple of them.
Does he know where you live?
No,
because he
hopefully
asked
not.
if
Was that
if you
Francois
brought.
fighting in Kalami Garden?
No.
He's asking if you brought your sword with today.
Yeah.
So
I thought,
We keep on in our car.
Francois, I thought you live in Kalami Gardens, and I had to slow down that video a bit. Billy
Can you believe
Polisi. And then we close off back to the Vrystaat for Paris.
Yeah, it was a good
That
race.
was a great race
It was a
last
great
year.
race,
Eh?
yeah.
That was the race that Fernando Alonso won. Made his off-road. Lichtenberg was, yeah, that's close to Kakamas, which is I've been talking.
No,
My
that was
race
the one before,
Lichtenberg.
yeah.
I mean,
Lichtenberg.
let's go back to Lichtenberg
So it was quite interesting.
and the experience that he got there.
Yeah, so it was.
Sorry, I'm interrupting.
No, I was just knew where we were going. It was Fernando's first official race. He had spent a little bit of time in the car, and we were lucky enough to have him in South Africa to use it as a test ground. The best part of that whole weekend was when he sat and spoke to our guys at drivers briefing and explained how difficult our sport is and how difficult the concentration is to race one of these cars. Far more difficult than racing his Formula One.
And
True story.
And yes, we
True story.
listened to him. We filmed him. And he said, "Thank you guys for allowing me to come and play with you."
Yeah, he was just, look,
What a humble
I'm
guy.
sure there's somebody somewhere who doesn't like him, but I've met the guy and he came and he was cool and he spoke to all our competitors, but spoke to them from his heart and explained he raced a Formula One car and he says very few variables on the track, etc., etc. You know, maybe my tires are going off or my fuel load changes, but otherwise we know what to expect. He said in this sport it's unbelievable. Every time he gets to the end of a straight and he's got to turn, he's unknown, he doesn't know how to stop, and he got this across, which was beautiful. It was a moment of real a communication with him. It was awesome. Anyway, he went out and it was a baptism of fire for him. It was brand new. He went out there and as you can see, he's not playing around doing a few slow laps and then he's going to go fast. He was gone. He was flying. And in his first lap, he clipped something at a slow little roll, but broke the windscreen, and they tried to carry on going. And then the guys had to stop them to say, no, what do you do now? Kick the windscreen out, grab the goggles from behind the seat, and you carry on. So he came in covered in mud and a smile, and he was just loving it. And
Mark wasn't so happy. Mark Comer wasn't so happy, but
yeah, well, he was just sitting. Anyway, so they fixed the car, they put a new windscreen in, and they sent him out again a little bit further back than he was. Off he goes, and I think within 5 minutes he hit one of our little birds called a guinea fowl, which I think he was hoping was going to bounce off the windscreen and came straight through the windscreen. So he did his 2 laps in South Africa without a windscreen. So he's
got experience in it.
When
So
that-
it's
when
actually
that-
an easy game.
So, and
He
it's,
knew what to do.
I mean, we laugh about it, but I don't know if he rolled anywhere else. I'm not aware of it. He may have. But he came to South Africa and he learned one thing, which you laugh about, how to drive with a broken windscreen.
Yeah.
And today, I think you saw he was 14th on today's stage.
Yes.
With all that.
With
he
the
was
roll
14th.
and
Oaks will
they
try.
had to change a wheel as well.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's incredible. Now that's because he kicked that windscreen out. He's done it. He knew what to do. He put the goggles on. He's experienced this. It didn't freak him out because he's practiced it. And that's why you practice. And not only practice going fast, you practice
But
tough
you must also practice the right stuff, because if you practice and think about the wrong stuff, then you're going to do it wrong.
Well, he was.
That's why
prepared.
guard your mind and always believe when you play the movies, don't play the crash. Put the crash out and play the good things. Program your mind to do good shit. Guys, South African Cross Country Series, it's going to be exciting. We've just been told to hurry the hell up because you talk so much. And Evan, thank you very much for joining us. You're more than welcome. If you want to come tomorrow, please do.
Cool.
We'll let our
You
catering
told him
department-
I'm the closest person to the studio.
No.
Because I'm clever.
There's 2 other guys who are close. No, but it's you. You really. We've had requests. Fani, thank you very much for doing the
Absolute
questions
pleasure.
for us and being our readers' proxy. Remember to put in your memorable moments and your highlights of this, the first of the Saudi edition
Before
of
you go,
Dakar. Yes.
Before you go, sorry. Terence Marsh, out of everything that he could have chosen as his highlight this year so far, it's a porcelain bowl toilet.
No, we knew that. The other thing that is, Terence he hates those go-karts, especially after the bikers have been there. And bikers seem to not believe in getting close to a toilet before they offload. They stand at a sort of, like 20 centimeters away and let fly, and it just goes everywhere. and they leave early, and then Terence arrives and he's full of it. So now he's got a proper porcelain go-kart. And the other highlight for Terence, I believe, is the camaraderie that they've built in with the British drivers of the Nissans. I believe it is. They're just having fun. Cool.
No, they get on really well. They've got a lovely, they've got a love-hate relationship. I think Terence's highlight's going to change. He's got 2 cars. They're close to the end. They've had a faultless run. Incredible. Yeah. Really, really good. I'll just say this quickly. It's really hard to build your own racing car. It's hard.
And then to build a fast one.
To build a fast one's even more difficult. And I'm talking about the South African championships. And then to build them and to take them to Dakar and have that kind of finishing record, which makes him really nervous because it can't get much better. It can only get worse. And it is getting better. They're finishing stage after stage. Both the drivers, Henny de Klerk and Thomas Bell, both driving. Thomas has had some really quick stages. I think he's sort of coming of age. So they'll be just as nervous the last 2 days to bring those two. But to bring a car home on your own just once is huge. So just again,
and Thomas is with Patrick McMurran,
correct,
and Henny and Johan Smallberger. So we've got a team.
You did say
so. Guys, I'm sorry we've gone for so long. Thank you very much for being with us. Remember, put the highlights in. We'll get back to them. And Fani, Evan, Henk, and all of you, thank you so much for the effort. And I love this gig. It is magic. Join us again tomorrow for some more fun and insights on raceday.tv. Thanks a lot. Be lekker, be fast, be safe. Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers.